Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago, one of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose, as long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we are going to be talking about the Cubs and White Sox coming out of the break, talking some Bulls and Blackhawks and maybe a little Bears and more. But first thing, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. Season is not going on right now, but that shouldn't stop you from heading on over to icehogs.com. Get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, how are you doing?
I am doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's not sunny, it's smoky, but temperature's nice. It's been a nice weekend, relaxing, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we never get a break from the smoke. Just when you think you're done with the smoke comes back.
It really does. And I guess it's bad news because of the fires, but we don't have the fires, but we have the tornadoes. Did you get a tornado by you?
So here's what happened. On Wednesday, the first round, the tornado struck, some of them did, around where my office is, but I wasn't in the office that day because we work remote Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it didn't hit the Elmhurst area. So that's good at least, because there were obviously warnings, went downstairs, sirens went off, but we did not get hit anything directly. And then Friday night, I was out with a friend. We were just at a local restaurant out in Oak Brook, and we were sitting outside. We had eaten and everything. We were just sitting talking, and we see the lightning just getting brighter and brighter, just crazy, just lighting up the sky, bolt after bolt, like something like apocalyptic. And we're like, oh, wow, there's some weather coming. And then obviously you look on Twitter and you see people tweeting about it. And then our phones go off with the warning. And the warning was not directly in our area, but it was like DuPage County is under warning, but like the actual like tornado spotting was somewhere out west of it. So I live like 10 minutes away. So we're like, all right, we're going to call it a night. And then I get in the car and drive home. And as soon as I'm pulling out of the parking lot, the sirens go off and then it starts to rain. And then I put the radio on and they're saying a tornado touchdown in Glen Ellen. And I'm like, wow, Glen Ellen is just a few towns away from me. So I'm driving home as quick as I can. And I got home and, we didn't get any damage by us, but obviously the weather was, it got pretty crazy. And luckily it didn't seem like with all the damage, there was anything too catastrophic or deaths or injuries over the past few days, but definitely something you had to deal with.
Yeah, my wife and daughter had gone to the library and they were like, oh, my phone went off with a tornado warning. So we're kind of hunkering down here at the library. And I'm like, that's weird. You're like literally like 3/4 of a mile from the house. And like, I don't get the warning on my phone. And then a friend texted me. He's like, oh man, he's like, the sirens are going off. I'm like, it's not going off here. And suddenly, the sirens are going off. And I'm like, oh, there we go. And
there it is.
And then my wife is like texting me. She's like, please catch the chickens and put them in their house. And so I went outside and caught our pet chickens and rustled them up into their house so they didn't get blown away.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if there's a warning anywhere near you, like those tornadoes can pop up anywhere. So you can't take them lightly.
Yeah, I saw Countryside got hit pretty good.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, when normally you never hear about tornadoes in the city, but we had 2 years ago we had one in Chicago, and then they said there was a touchdown near O'Hare, and I'm like, I'm a little too close to O'Hare for to hear that. I don't like that.
Well, yeah. Did you see all the photos of the people in that tunnel, that underground tunnel that goes under the terminal?
Yeah,
Like everyone was packed like sardines in there.
yeah, it was. I read somebody else was like how I wasn't planning on spending my 50th birthday, and it's like huddled in a bathroom at Midway Airport with 100 other people.
Yeah, really.
And I was like, that's not fun.
No, I wouldn't want that. I mean, that's something where you're like, well, listen, you don't want to be there, but you also don't want to be sucked up by a tornado, because I saw some pictures of the funnel that was over the airport, and you don't see that very often. Like you said, I mean, here's the thing. It is a good thing we're next to Lake Michigan with that cool air coming off Lake Michigan, because if we didn't have that, we could be seeing like Oklahoma, Nebraska type stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right. So where do you want to start today?
So I have some NFL thoughts and Bears thoughts that I kind of wanted to talk about. If there's if there's a way we can do that, because I'm sure you have some thoughts too, and I want to get your opinions on something I have on the NFC as a whole.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. So earlier I put this together. I have the whole NFC. Okay. I put them into 4 tiers, like a power ranking almost. It's not like a 1 to 16 power ranking where it's like I'm ranking every team individually. It's more of a grouping, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So the 4 tiers I have: tier 1, top favorites; tier 2, playoffs; tier 3, competitive, meh, unknown. So that's kind of your biggest tier. And then tier 4 is at the bottom. So I tried to space things out, but tier 3 is going to be floating around that meh territory tier. I'll go through the whole thing and then I'll get your thoughts on it. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Okay. Tier 1, top favorites. I have 3 teams: Eagles, 49ers, Cowboys. Tier 2, playoffs: Giants, Seahawks, Lions, Vikings. Tier 3, competitive, meh, unknown, kind of the 6 to 9 win range: Rams, Commanders, Packers, Bears, Saints, Panthers. And tier 4, Bucks, Cardinals, Falcons. Now, there's a few notes that I want to mention here. There's going to be, I think, some tweeners here where like some are just really borderline. Like, for example, I have Panthers in tier 3 because I do think there's a potential for them to be better than what people think. But would it surprise me if they ended up at the bottom? No. I could also maybe see a bit more of a bounce back with the Rams going up to tier 2. But again, that's kind of remained to be seen. And really, the Packers and the Bears are kind of the biggest mysteries. I mean, we'll obviously talk much more about the Bears, but the Packers, I don't know how good Jordan Love is. I truly have no idea how good or bad this guy is. I don't want to go and say that I don't want to be like a lot of Bears fans and just laugh and say he's bad, because 1, I'm scarred from Green Bay my entire life. 2, I don't want to say he's going to be great, but I hate to admit it, but there are attributes to his game that I kind of like, that I could see succeeding in the NFL. But again, every quarterback who's drafted has attributes people like, and it's whether or not they pan out or not. So I don't know. That's why I put him in tier 3. I really don't know. I think the Saints are going to be just mediocre. I think the Commanders are just going to be mediocre. And that's where I kind of fall on that. Now in tier 2, I have the Vikings. The Vikings, even though they lost Dalvin Cook, you're going to have Cousins and Jefferson and that new guy they draft. They're going to be putting up some points, I think. I don't think their defense is going to be very good. I don't think they're going to do what they did last year, but I do think that they can at least be good enough to be in that playoff conversation. However, if they weren't, that wouldn't surprise me either. Lions, I have them in the playoffs. They still have more to prove, but I think I'm going to put them there. Seahawks, Giants, those are the two teams where I say, listen, the teams as a whole, like around the quarterback, do have what I think it takes to make a legit run, but I don't think Danny Dimes is going to take you more than one playoff win like last year. And I don't know if Geno Smith is going to be the same guy he was last year either. If the Seahawks had in prime Russell Wilson, then I'd put him in tier 1. I would definitely put him in tier 1 if that, but that's not the case. And as for tier 1, the 49ers have some questions, but you know what? That scheme, that coaching, the way they play, since 2019, you've had Jimmy Garoppolo and you've had Brock Purdy, and you've made multiple NFC championship games in a Super Bowl. They're just a really well-run organization that I got to give them the benefit of the doubt. The Eagles are obviously your number one team. And the Cowboys, listen, I'm not saying the Cowboys are going to win a Super Bowl because we haven't seen Dak Prescott really win that big game in the playoffs, but you know they're going to have the firepower and the talent to be capable of doing that. At least you know that you have a guy under center that is capable of being good. Whereas Giants and Seahawks, you scratch your head a little bit. And then I think the Lions have that chance to go higher, but they still have stuff to prove. So that's pretty much my whole rationale on this. So your thoughts, your reaction, what do you think?
I mean, let's just start with how I kind of rank them and then compare.
Okay.
Just because I can't remember your whole list. So I'm going to go through mine and then we can kind of compare. Is Philadelphia legit contender? I think they're going to be absolutely dominant in the NFC, barring Hurts getting injured.
Yeah, if they don't have any major injuries, I have a real tough time seeing anyone beat them.
Right. And so they're the elite class. They're in a class by themselves. The next tier, I would have Dallas in it, and San Francisco. Just because I got to move Philadelphia above them, and those are your teams to beat. Teams that could make some noise. Dallas, Detroit. So I'm gonna go Rams.
So you're higher on the Rams bouncing back this year. All right.
And then maybe Seattle. I am not. Giants, they're like a tweener. They could be in that. They could jump into that could possibly make noise category. If not, they're probably the highest team on the next tier. Minnesota will have a decent record. I just don't believe in them as a team that's going to win.
Yeah, I don't think they go far in the playoffs. I could just see them having a good enough record to get to the playoffs. I don't think their defense is good enough. And I think losing Dalvin Cook is, that's a tough blow for them. So yeah, but they still should put up points.
Early prediction is they don't have a winning record in their division.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think they split with the Bears, split with the Packers, and I think they lose both to the Lions.
Yeah. Yep. I could see that too.
And they're a team that's going to have a winning record and a losing record in the division. I don't think Green Bay is going to be very good, and I'm not going to throw it under the Jordan Love. It's they've just got a lot of issues with that team. I don't like their wide receiver depth. I don't know what their offensive line is going to look like. Even if Jordan Love isn't bad, it's his first year starting. He's going to have there's going to be some pains in there. And I don't know if I believe in that defense. I don't think they can get to the quarterback very well. So, I don't think they're going to be a bad team. I just don't think they're going to be a good team by any stretch.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I see a world where they could be last place in this division.
I mean, it's possible.
If it happens, it's going to be because nobody in this division is bad.
Right. It's going to be one of those things where if the Bears do take a giant leap, the Lions are who they're hyped up to be, and the Vikings can at least play like the Vikings basically have.
But I believe in the Bears a lot more than the national media does, just because of a couple of factors. One, you improve the offensive line. Two, Justin Fields is taking a step forward with actual weapons. Three is they didn't lose. They lost a lot of games by close scores.
They did.
People forget that. It's not like when you lose that you got blown out. I mean, if you lose because your kicker misses a chip shot field goal, are you suddenly terrible compared to if they made that chip shot field goal? Like, no, it's played the same game. So they didn't lose that many games by a lot of points. So, a couple of plays here or there, and suddenly that record is a whole lot better.
Good thing it wasn't for the case of what the plan was, but yeah, you're right. And I mean, there is this too where, and I've said this before, watching the Bears lose a franchise record 13 games, watching the context of that season was honestly a lot more entertaining and more engaging than a lot of those mediocre John Fox, Matt Nagy teams.
Right. But I mean, I didn't put the Bears in that make noise category, but I think they're going to be at least a decent team. They're a team that's not going to be an easy out.
Sean Hotman puts Bears over everyone. Confirmed.
I think Washington is going to be doo-doo sandwiches. I think Tampa's going to be terrible.
I think so too. They're going to be bad.
They're going to be competing for the number one pick bad. And I think partly by design. I think Carolina is going to be decent. New Orleans will be decent. I think Atlanta's not going to be. I think Atlanta's going to win that division.
So you're higher on the Falcons than I am, clearly.
Yeah. And then
I just don't have a reason to believe in that team right now. Maybe they prove me wrong, but right now I just don't.
I mean, part of my belief is that's a bad division.
Oh yeah, no, it's not good. And if you squeaking out a game by a point can make an entire difference. So like, if you're having like a blob bowl between the Falcons and the Panthers, and the Falcons just make one big play and they win that game, it could be the big difference.
Yeah, it's hard for me to believe Carolina will win because they have a rookie quarterback, regardless of how good he is. He's small and he's a rookie. And their wide receivers stink. Like, so it's hard for me to believe that they're going to win. And, the lucky thing is their division is bad. So, I'm just gonna go by Atlanta. Kind of there, but it's not going to be a good division, and Arizona is going to be right there with. I think Arizona is going to be bad,
I think Arizona has the potential to be the worst team in the league, frankly.
and that's
Because
with
what?
their. Well, who knows when their quarterback comes back? He said,
Right.
"I'm eyeing week 1," but no way,
No way.
So, yeah, I think division winners are San Francisco wins that division.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go Atlanta, but I'm not high on anybody in the NFC South. I'm gonna say Detroit in the North and
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia in the East.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much all that. Though I'm gonna swap Atlanta with New Orleans.
That's I'm not gonna argue that. I hope Carolina finishes third in that division. I'm not gonna say fourth because I don't think there's any way if they finish fourth, that would be amazing, but I don't
Oh my
see it.
god. Hey, we got lucky last year. Can we make it 2 years in a row?
I don't think so. Just as long as it's a high draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, give me something solid. I'm not expecting it to be number 1 overall. In all honesty, just wouldn't it be something if the Bears had this resurgent year and they made a run and then they still got another first overall pick? Like, wouldn't that be incredible?
Oh my God, because that first pick this year will get so much value.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if you're the Bears at that point, you don't care. Like this year, there was a point where they were like, we don't want to go past, 9-10. Like we don't. Like if they do that, and you could be like, whatever. Like we could go anywhere because we've made that huge jump and we've got our own first round pick. And I'm sure they would try to finagle another player out of somebody.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Like, if the Bears took a big leap and they're like, hey, we're a pretty established unit. We don't care where we draft in the first round. Offer us your biggest haul, whoever you are. We'll listen.
You know what the division I'm really curious what's going to look like?
The
AFC East.
It's kind of the AL East of divisions, isn't it?
I mean, I want to buy into Miami. They've got all the weapons, and now they've got a stud defensive coordinator. It's what's Tua gonna do? And is he gonna be healthy?
Those health injuries are very concerning. If he was fully healthy, I think we're singing a different song, but those concussion issues he's had, they're pretty serious.
And
I think that's a big concern.
Yeah, that, and then you've got the Jets, who were basically a team that was a quarterback away from being a competitor, and they've got that quarterback now. But what's that quarterback going to look like?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, even with Aaron Rodgers now, I feel like just watching Aaron Rodgers last year, that was not the same guy. And he's 39 now?
Yeah.
It'll make you better, no doubt, but
I'm going to say
the other teams
that the Jets finished third in that division.
What's your order?
I'm going to go Miami, Buffalo, Jets, then New England.
So you're putting Miami over Buffalo.
I am.
Interesting.
I am.
Hey, I'm not going to say it's wrong. Will I still give Buffalo the benefit of the doubt? Yes. But here's the thing about Buffalo and Josh Allen. A year or so ago, we looked at that team and we're like, holy cow, how is anybody like not named Patrick Mahomes going to beat that? And you still saw a very good team, but there are chinks in that armor. With
Yeah,
Josh Allen and that team, there are chinks in that armor.
yeah, they have some struggle scoring sometimes.
I think that as good as Josh Allen is, there are times when he just makes a throw and you just say, what the hell was that? He's very good, but there are flaws. So I think would I no. And again, if Tua was healthy, I'd probably sing a different tune. I just worry about that health, but I totally get why you would pick them. I totally would. And I think putting the Jets third, I agree. Frankly, I think the Patriots aren't going to be anything special at all.
No, I'm not a big believer in Mac Jones,
I'm not either.
and they don't have a lot of weapons,
Nope.
and their defense was okay last year. They don't do anything for me.
I think it's a 500 team at best.
I think in the AFC South, Jacksonville runs away with it. I think Cincinnati runs away with it in the North. And I think Denver comes back with a vengeance, but Kansas City still wins that division.
Hard to bet against Pat Mahomes, really is, and Andy Reid.
I mean, that team had a 127-point differential last year.
Mm-hmm. I mean, really, the way I see the NFC, you have the two Titans at the top, and that's Mahomes and Burrow. Like, if you're going to make a tier there, you could go beyond teams and just do like individuals carrying the team. And I think those two are at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't, Denver, I could see them bouncing. I don't think they had the right coach. That was a disaster last year, right? I mean, that was bad. I don't think Russell Wilson is ever going to be in prime Russell Wilson, but if you're a better coach and he just plays respectably, then I think you have a decent team.
I think Sean Payton just absolutely turns us around and makes us go, oh yeah, we forgot Sean Payton's a really good coach.
Hey, it's possible. It's possible. I just don't know what Russell Wilson can do these days because let's be real, the last few years under Pete Carroll weren't exactly spectacular either. But to your point, Sean Payton knows what he's doing. Like if you're gonna bring in another coach to try to right this ship, hard to go against Sean Payton, right?
Agreed. But let's see, as this kind of pertains to the Bears, we're about a week and a half away from training camp opening, which is good. Nice to finally see that. Darnell Mooney is supposed to be healthy, 100%, ready for camp. And big question now is, when are the Bears going to add another pass rusher?
Question we ask every week.
I was shocked they didn't add somebody after the draft. Could have sworn they would have.
Me too.
But I don't think they go into week one with they're going to add somebody. They just have to.
I sure as hell hope so, because I'm getting a little worried about that.
I mean, their defense was so bad last year. And part of it was they got they had cornerbacks hurt. Part of it was their linebacking depth after trading away Roquan wasn't very good. But mostly it was they couldn't stop the run and couldn't get to the quarterback. That was the vast majority of it.
Mhm.
You feel better about stopping the run.
It won't be great, but it'll be better with better linebackers.
I mean, I think the defensive linemen you brought in will be better to stop the run. I just don't
I
know
hope
where
so.
I just don't know where they're going to get the pass rush.
Right.
And
Yeah, that's what you're missing, really.
unless they just absolutely believe in Jervon Dexter.
I mean, maybe Dexter's got something, but it's not nearly enough. I mean, didn't they draft Dominic Robinson last year? He had a really good debut game, and then you kind of forgot about him the rest of the way.
He was a later pick. Like, I would just like them to see them draft or sign somebody that can get to the quarterback and getting that pass rush. You've got to be able to get pressure on the quarterback, because if you can get at least decent pressure and make that quarterback have to move, it makes the defensive back's job so much easier.
And if you need proof of that, of what pass rush can do, all I'm going to say is go back and watch the loss to the Packers last year at home. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
That was probably the worst we ever saw Aaron Rodgers play at Soldier Field. But they were able to come back because Aaron Rodgers could have unfolded a lawn chair, sat there, take a sip of lemonade, and still would not have gotten touched. Any pressure, the Bears would have run away with that game. But we've made that point pretty clear, and I want it to get resolved. More than anything, I just want to get resolved and feel better about it, because I don't want to sit here thinking this is what we're going to the season with pass rush. I just don't want that feeling.
I agree with you. And you look, and I know people will still shit on this. I think Jadeveon Clowney wouldn't be a terrible option.
I think so. I don't think it would hurt.
If nothing else, he's a really good run defender.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that, sure, he's going to come in for a 1-year deal. You don't have to pay him long term. He's not hindering your cap space.
Not even close.
And it allows you to be like, okay, well, we've improved our defense, but it's not going to hinder you from next year from in a cap situation, and it's still going to allow you next year to build your draft around edge rushers, defensive players.
Yeah. I don't see the downside to that.
I know a lot of people.
He's watching, he stinks. So what?
Yeah. Then you were going to be bad anyway. So, I know a lot of people want Yannick Ngakoue, and he's a guy who puts up the pass rush numbers, but he's terrible at run defense. So you're like, all right, is that the guy we want, knowing full well that people are going to run against us? I'd still rather have him, add him, and be like, okay, well, we know he's not a good run defender, so we're going to put him in situationally. But I'm still of the Jadeveon Clowney camp. That's the guy I want.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
And I know he quit on the Browns last year, but if you come in, the Browns were a disaster.
The Browns are a shit show, absolute shit show.
Like, it wasn't just that they were losing; it was just that was like a clown organization. And I think coming in here with a winner at quarterback, and this organizational philosophy under the Flus, I think he's going to come in and be like, you know what, I want to prove myself, and I'm going to come in, play hard. I think that's the play.
Yep, I'm with you. While we're kind of on this topic, I have something else I wanted to share with you that I put together. I created my projected week 1 roster based on what we have right now for the Bears. And I want to share that with you and see what you think.
Okay.
So, I mean, I organized this very, very, it's a bit more broad. So when I organize the categories, when I have O-line and D-line, I just kind of put it together as all offensive linemen, all defensive linemen. You know, I didn't get as specific as here are your guards, here's your center, here's your center depth, here's your tackle depth. Like, I just did it by O-line and D-line, but I separated by QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end, O-line, D-line, linebacker, cornerback, safety, and special teamers. That's how I did it. So quarterback, Fields and PJ Walker.
Okay.
Running back, Foreman, Herbert, Johnson, Homer, and Blasingame is your fullback. They did it last year. I think they'll do it again this year.
I would probably agree.
Wide receiver. Now, this is where I think some people might get into debates, because I'm going to read off the set of names and you'll notice that one is missing. DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, Travis Scott, Dante Pettis, Equanimeous St. Brown.
How many did you name? 5 or 6?
6.
Okay. So you left off last year's draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I agree, but I'm not strong in that disagreement. I could easily see a path where he does not make this roster. But I think if it wasn't for those last couple of games, I'd be right there with you. I saw something in those last few games, and
which is true.
And I like, okay, well, he worked with Fields. We're starting to see something. And I think they're going to continue with that. But especially with that speed, you can't teach speed. But I could easily see a world where he just doesn't make this squad. And where I could see it happening is not the talent or the speed. It's going to be if he comes in and goes, and he did well when there was nothing else, and he's like, okay. But there's people out there that they might see Claypool and Mooney and DJ Moore and suddenly be like, play intimidated and not play strong. And if he shies away instead of trying to rise up and be like, all right, well, I'm gonna get my place at the table, that could be an easy path. And he's gonna have to grow. He's gonna have to, catch everything and continue to run tight routes. And so he's got work to do. But it's gonna come down to, did he put the work in, and is he going to work well with Justin Fields? And I mean, that's gonna be huge.
Yeah, and I'm not sitting here saying I'd be shocked if Velus Jones make it. I think there's a very good chance he will. The reason I kind of wanted to do this was in my thinking, I've heard some good things about Scott, some pretty good things, and those attributes they could play on special teams. It sounds like he could bring those. And then, past that, Dante Pettis, you saw, obviously you kind of put it in a bubble because you were a tanking bad team, but you saw production from Dante Pettis, and I think you saw things work with him and Justin Fields last year. And I think there's a reason they re-signed him, to give him that chance again. And then with Equanimeous St. Brown, listen, he's not the guy I want Justin Fields throwing to in a big moment, but he can block and he's got size. And I think the Bears gave him that extension for those reasons, because they like some of those attributes to have in a sixth wide receiver. So if you didn't draft Scott or you didn't re-sign Pettis, I think Velus Jones would easily make it on my mock roster. But I think considering the circumstances, I'm just not as sure.
Yeah, I easily see a world where he doesn't make this roster. And if he doesn't, he's going to be on the practice squad. Like, they're not dumping him. But I think he will make this squad. And I'm not super confident on it. I'm just saying that's my early predictions. We'll see right away. I mean,
yeah,
in preseason games and training camp, how things look and how Justin Fields works with him. That's going to be, we'll know right away. I don't think it's going to be a huge question mark. I think this wide receiver group will define themselves pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think so too. So moving on, tight ends, I got Komet, Tanyan, and Tongas as my tight ends.
Okay.
I think the top two are obvious.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think they're going to carry four tight ends.
I don't think so either. Offensive linemen, got Braxton Jones, Jenkins, Whitey Coathair, Davis, Darnell Wright, Larry Borum, Lucas Patrick, Doug Kramer, and Alex Leatherwood.
I'm okay with that.
I think they really like Doug Kramer. I really do.
I'm excited to see what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really hoping that he takes a big step forward and becomes the center of the future.
Yeah, I hope so too, because Whitey Coathair ain't going to be here forever.
I mean, it would be hard for me to get rid of Whitey Coathair this year, period. My hope would be Doug Kramer comes in and wins that job. And you have Whitey Coathair as a super sub. He can play any of the three interior positions at a high level. And you feel really good about that situation. And then you just sort of need to shore up your tackles, swing tackles. I'm hopeful somebody steps up and can beat out Lucas Patrick, but I think he will be on this roster.
Yeah. Yeah. And, with white hair too, if white hair's gone, then it's like, well, RIP to the Whitey Coathair jokes.
Truth. But yeah, I don't think I don't think your list is a bad one for the final roster of offensive linemen.
I mean, if I had to rank like the biggest guys, biggest factors on this line as I look at it right now is Wright and Jenkins. I mean, those are my two, I think, favorite linemen that we had. Because Wright, obviously, he was your first pick. He was one of the best linemen in the draft at pass protecting, arguably the best. And when Tevin Jenkins is healthy, the line plays a lot better. So those two guys are really, really important.
Yep. I'm right there with you. And if Braxton Jones takes that step up, like that next leap, then, this line could be, pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't need it'd be nice to have an elite offensive line, but we had we had an awful line last year. So
Yeah.
it's just getting something that's serviceable will be, we need to see if Justin Fields really can take that leap. And part of that is give him a better running game and give him time to throw.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be crucial. You don't want him seeing get hit and sacked more than any other quarterback in the league like last year.
No, you don't.
So moving on to the defensive line aspect, we have Walker, Pickens, Jones, Robinson, Gibson, Dexter, Billings, Green, and Lewis.
How many total is that?
That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll keep. They might only keep 8, but that's not a bad list.
Moving on to linebackers, obviously we've said before that this is the most improved aspect of the team. TJ Edwards, Edmonds, Sanborn, Coe, Sewell, and Weatherford are my linebackers.
Okay. I like Weatherford. I hope he makes it.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that end winds up. But
Yeah, that'll be.
we
We know the top 4 linebackers on this roster, but
Yeah.
it's the end battle for those last couple spots is going to be a fun one to watch.
Agreed. Now we go to cornerbacks. Stevenson, Gordon, Johnson, Smith, Blackwell, Vildor.
No Jones.
No, I don't have him.
I like Jalen Jones. I think he'll beat out Vildor. Other than that, I don't see anything where I'm disagree hard, but I like Jalen Jones.
Honestly, that was where I was kind of going back and forth. So whether or not that happens, we'll see. But I mean, obviously, I think the biggest cornerback that I'm going to be keeping my eyes on is going to be Kyler Gordon. Obviously, Jalen Johnson is going to be important too. But as we talked about on the show before, are we going to get a healthy season from him? Because we've been waiting to see that.
Right. Like if everybody stays healthy, this cornerback group could be really good.
Yeah, I mean, if Stevenson, plays well, Kyler Gordon continues to grow, and Jalen Johnson is healthy, those 3 right there. And, even with, like, let's say Kindle Vildor does make it, and he's kind of the last guy on your chart. You're okay. He's been around. He knows the system. He knows what it's like. So at least you have some experience there to which is not going to happen unless, God forbid, everyone else gets hurt.
Yeah, I like this cornerback group. And last year we saw injuries sort of decimate the cornerbacks, and you saw guys just come out of the woodworks and step up and play well. And it was encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, that to me tells you that there's a good system in place.
Yeah, so you're like, okay, well now Jalen Johnson is healthy and Kyler Gordon is healthy, and you added Stevenson. You're like, okay, now these guys that were your starters and doing a decent job are going to be your depth guys. Like, okay, here we go. And then now they've got experience under their belts. So I'm excited about this cornerback group, and I think that battle is for the most part, you've got 3 positions with guaranteed spots. It's the next 3 or 4, however many they carry, is going to be a wide open race, and it's going to be fun to watch that, because I think that that might be the most contested battle on this for rosters.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we're going to go to safeties. I got 4: Brisker, Ejax, Hicks, and Williamson.
Okay.
I mean, your top 2 are more than obvious.
Yeah, that's super obvious.
And I think Elijah Hicks is right underneath them. So
I liked him coming out of college. I really did. He struggled a little bit last year when he played, but I think having the whole off season and being able to watch more film, I think you're going to see a much better player. I really did like him coming out of college. I thought that was a steal, and I think he's going to make this roster. And I wouldn't
really
be shocked.
tough.
And I wouldn't be shocked if he's not considered as a possible starter for the following year.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough going from college to the NFL in a secondary position. It's really, really tough. So I'm confident in him too. Just to round it off, you have your certain special teams guys. You have your kicker, your snapper, your long snapper, or not snapper, your punter. Yeah, thank you. So Santos, Skills, Scales to round it all off.
Yeah, I mean you got that other kicker, but I think you stick with Santos
for the time being. Yes.
It'll be interesting though, is Robbie Gould is a free agent where he ends up going.
Yeah, if they didn't have Santos locked up, you would think that there might be a bigger chance. But right now, I just don't see that happening. I think Robbie Gould would love to come back to Chicago, but right now, Santos is your guy.
I think so.
Yeah. So there's my current projected roster. I think there's a few disagreements on here with what people think, but I think overall it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see a ton of wide open spots on this roster. And honestly, I'm feeling pretty confident we can even name our starters at this point without too much difficulty. And but it's still going to be fun because I think there's at least enough spots where there'll be fun battles in training camp, but mostly it's going to be watching guys improve and grow. And I'm really excited to watch Gervon Dexter be in pads playing against people because the more I read about him and the more I watch college film, I kind of am excited about him.
Yeah, I mean, you hope it translates.
Because he was asked to play a much different position in college. I mean, it was same position, but different method of playing. And it was more of a read and react rather than get pressure on the pocket. And he's a big, strong guy. And I think if when they turn him loose, he's gonna wreak havoc up there. So
God, I hope so.
It would be so nice. It makes it a lot easier to get edge pressure if there's no pocket.
That is true.
I mean, that's part of why Leonard Floyd was able to put up those sack numbers when he was with the Rams, because you had a Hall of Famer coming up the middle, and it left a lot of opportunities for edge rushers. So Gervon Dexter's the guy I'm really excited to watch.
Yeah, I am too. You hear a lot of good things about him, so you kind of hope he's one of those guys that just kind of flew under the radar, and then he gets to the NFL. You're like, oh, wow, this guy's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm rooting hard for him. All right. Where do you want to go from here? We got a little basketball, little hockey, and then some baseball.
We could say baseball for last.
All right. You want to talk Bulls?
Sure.
Summer League?
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
I mean, it happened. uh,
the best way to put it. It really is. It happened.
I mean, Dalen Terry looked like a chump out there until the last game, and then you were like,
Yeah.
oh, did he fool us with this last game, and or is this the guy that he could be with some time?
It just seems like he's just a guy. Like he's got attributes, but he's just a guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my feeling is your second year in the summer league, you should be playing a whole lot better. And he didn't.
Not like he has that much NBA experience, but yeah.
I mean, am I writing him off? No, but I'm also not optimistic either.
Oh, Sean is going to be so lit when he's putting up big numbers with the Windy City Bulls.
Oh, Dalen Terry. Julian Phillips got better by the end. But Javon Freeman Liberty is the guy that was by far and away the best player for the Bulls in the summer.
Oh yeah,
league.
Yeah, by far.
And the bummer part is he going to get a shot to play for the Bulls this year, or are they going to send him back to Windy City?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I think he will get. I think he's going to get playing time at some point. I can kind of see him being kind of that tweener again, where you're back and forth between the two.
I mean, they have an open two-way contract slot. Like, I don't know. I mean, what's the harm? This team is not good.
But they think it is. The front office thinks it is.
And if nothing else, that guy just, not only was he really good, he shot over 46% from three. The Bulls need 3-point shooting. They need a guard. And I mean, is Io returning? They signed him to an offer sheet, but I don't know if he's returning. So
you've heard so little about him.
None. Just like nothing.
It's like, okay, you get the Kobe White extension, you get the Vooch extension, you sign a few guys, you talk about, okay, for now, DeMar is still a Bull. You haven't traded anybody, Levine is still here. You haven't traded Caruso. You haven't done anything there. You talk about putting, but like you hear nothing about Io.
No. Nope, you don't. I know he was signed to an offer sheet, but we'll see if he returns and where they kind of view him.
The offer sheet is a freaking like piece of notebook paper saying offer for the Bulls. It's just written in ballpoint pen.
But the Bulls did get their disabled player exemption for Lonzo Ball, so they've got $10.2 million to spend.
Yeah, what are you going to do with it?
I don't know. I don't know. It seems like it's a day late and a dollar short. Like, yeah, we applied for this exemption and we got it. Oh, hey, free agency's over.
Like Jerry Reinsdorf. Oh, we have it. Yeah. Oh, well, we can still brag about it.
Yeah, look at us. We've got this exemption. All right, what are you going to do with it? Shut up. That's...
Hey, shut up.
So, yeah, I don't know. This summer league happened, and I don't know. It's frustrating that Javon Freeman Liberty was so fun to watch, and may not get an opportunity. And if he goes back to Windy City, I can promise you I'm gonna go watch him play because
You're
he
gonna
was a
be a
lot of fun.
season ticket holder.
Uh,
You're gonna drive all the way out there to freaking Now Arena, which is by where I work, but you're gonna drive all the way out there and you're gonna be the biggest Windy City Bulls fanboy out there.
okay, I'm gonna be like, I came up with nicknames, everybody. Front office people, let's discuss my official nicknames I came up with for everybody. Maybe we could put those in the program. Merchandising.
You're gonna be the next mascot.
It's gonna be
Super
like
fan.
it's gonna be like the San Diego Chicken. That guy is not. This chicken is not affiliated with the Padres. It's just a dude that just came in a chicken costume.
You're the unofficial mascot. Have you been to a Windy City Bulls game before?
I have not.
I haven't either. And every year I say I'm going to go. I say I'm going to go every year, and I haven't. And I work out there now. Now Arena is like 10 minutes from my office. I really should get to one. It's just like, I only go in 2 days a week, and I know how long that commute can be. And it's kind of that same feeling of, yeah, I'd like to see a game, but do I want to drive all the way the hell out there? I don't know.
Just go after work. Don't come back home. Come home after the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably my best bet. Though we are moving offices in December. But even so, I'm moving in Hoffman. So if I moved in Hoffman, I just have to go down 90 for like 15 minutes to get there. So I'm truly going to make an effort to get to a game this year. And then I'll be shocked when I see you being the next San Diego Chicken at the Windy City Bulls game.
I've got like an empty Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket with eyeballs cut out of it over my head, dancing around.
What does this have to do with the Windy City Bulls?
Nothing. It's just whatever. Just makes people laugh. What does the chicken have to do with the Padres?
Nothing.
Nothing. What is a Philly fanatic? Who knows? What the hell is Gritty? But he's awesome.
You're making some very good points. The Windy City Bulls chicken.
The Bulls. Why is it a chicken mascot? Just shut up.
That's the only thing you verbalize when you're in character is if someone asks you, what does this have to do with the Windy City Bulls? Because shut up. All those mascot meetings in Chicago, they're going to say, to hell with you, Clark the Cub. Let's bring the Windy City Bulls chicken.
Yeah, at least he wears pants.
It doesn't have his whee hanging out. Do you remember when they put that Photoshop on the air?
Yeah.
Oh, like, what are you doing?
That was just cringy.
Oh, so bad. So bad. And yet somehow the Windy City Bulls chicken is going to be even more cringy.
I think it's hilarious in this day and age, introducing a new mascot. It just never goes over well. But you go after a certain point, you go one of two ways. Like Clark the Cub, you're like, oh, hey, he's there. Okay. Or you go the Gritty route where you're like, all right, we overcame the nightmares and now he's fucking gritty.
Yeah.
And you capitalize on all of the merchandising.
Think about it. Think of all the stuff they could sell now with the Windy City Bulls chicken.
Right?
Do a lot.
They're missing the opportunity here.
See, we need to bring this to the marketing department.
Right? Like, here's the list of nicknames we have for all the players. Here's the new mascot, and here's some merchandising opportunities. Here we go. We are making you money. Windy City Bulls chicken, ? Profit.
That's just the whole chart.
It's got the chicken and a ? And then just piles of money. It's got Scrooge McDuck swimming in a pile of gold.
See, this is where the good ideas are bred.
Yeah, we need to go to the Bears organization and pitch them on boxes of only purple crayons. Like, our colors aren't purple. Yes, but the George Kangaski purple crayon box.
We didn't have we couldn't get a thing of crayons, so we just borrowed George's, and these are the only ones he had.
Should we talk a little hockey here?
Sure.
Did you by chance happen to see the Marian Hossa goodbye game roster?
I saw the goodbye game. I saw a promo for it. I didn't see the roster.
Nicholas Lidstrom, Zdeno Chara, Dustin Byfuglien, Nick Hjalmarsson, Marty Havlat, Patrick Sharp, Gaborik, Kopecky, Alfredson, Hanzus, Satan, Roosevelt, and Taves.
I dig it.
That would be a fun game to go watch if it wasn't somewhere really far away,
to say the least.
I'm like, we had some friends over today, and I was telling them about this. My friend's like, "Oh, is it going to be at the third center?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Where is it?" And I was like, I went to the website, and I was like, in another language that I can't pronounce or read. I have no idea. It's that far away where I can't read it.
That's dope, though. I love that. Did you see that picture of him?
Which one?
Where, like, he's standing out with his family and he's shirtless, and he, like, dude, it looks like he could still just, like, dominate in the NHL.
He probably could come back for one more year with Connor Bedard. The line of Hall, Bedard, and Hossa.
Do you imagine a magical scenario, where you put Connor Bedard together with in prime Marian Hossa?
Right.
How sick would that be?
I mean, if nothing else, I mean, you'd see some goals being scored, but you would.
Yeah.
But
I mean, this picture, it's like the IQ behind it.
Just the learning about being a hockey player.
Yeah, you'd be learning from one of the best mentors.
Okay, I'm looking at the picture, and Jesus Christ.
It's kind of like Alfonso Soriano, where it's like, man, you look like you're even better shape post-playing career.
Jesus Christ.
Don't mess with that guy.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, here's a comment. Clearly Marian Hossa didn't retire from hitting the gym.
No, clearly not.
I was reading with the Blackhawks where they expect their draft picks to be playing next year. Connor Bedard, obviously, with the Blackhawks.
Mm-hmm.
Oliver Moore will be playing with the University of Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Guyon in the USHL, playing for Green Bay Gamblers. Roman Kantsarov will be playing in the KHL with the Metallurg Magnitogorsk. And like an easy to pronounce name there. They need us for marketing opportunities.
The Megatogorsk chicken. Come on.
Martin Miziak, we're playing with the Erie Otters of the OHL, probably. Nick Lardis, the Brantford Bulldogs in the OHL. Yuri Felkman, the U20 Elite, and Lagnau under 20. Alex Ferrand, the OHL Sudbury Wolves. Marcel, the Gatineau Olympiques for the QMJHL. Milton Oscarson, the SHL Orebro, and Jan Peltonen in Liga Carpa. So, yeah.
It is amazing how many levels of hockey there are.
I know. We were like, I play professionally hockey. Oh, cool. You play for the NHL? No, I am 12 leagues under.
I play for Morsk Pogorsk.
I play from Orc.
The thing is, you could probably come up to me and say, I play for the N5HL and the Bogorsky Fikorsky Gergs. And I'd be like, yeah, okay, I believe it.
That's cool.
I mean,
it's like soccer. You're like, oh, I play professional soccer. Oh, okay, cool. You're like, what? We're in the championship league. Oh, cool. Is that like the highest? No, we're the 47th highest. Then why you call it the championship league? Because shut up.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, it's easy to follow prospects that are playing in the OHL or college or your farm system affiliates like the ECHL or the AHL. Those are the easiest ones to follow. But, some of these other leagues, whether they're overseas or here, that you just don't hear much about, there's a lot of hockey leagues to follow when you're following prospects like this.
Right, especially when you go over to Europe. Like, there's like so many leagues. Like, I have no idea what these even are. Like, I'm reading these last ones and I'm like, am I even pronouncing this right? I have no idea what this is. What the hell is the QMJHL? Like, what is Liga Carpa? I have no idea. That doesn't.
Right.
That's not. Those aren't words.
And it's like we all know the KHL. Everybody knows the KHL, but I couldn't name every KHL team.
Oh, I can't name any. Except for Magurski. Bagurshka.
I just call them the Jagers at this point.
Yeah, we've got Connor Bedard. And we'll have Oliver Moore probably in a year or two.
And then hopefully Korchinski will be making his way up.
I really hope. I really want to see that kid play in a Hawks uniform.
Me too.
And then hopefully we
His
have a much
ceiling
better,
is very high.
And hopefully we have a much better announcing crew.
Hey, Darren Panger was a great addition.
He was, absolutely. Because last year the only thing worse than their play at some time were the announcers.
Well, it's like it was that rotating door, and it's just like of color guys. It's just hard to build chemistry off that.
Yes, agreed.
And listen, no disrespect to Patrick Sharp, but he was just a little too monotone for me.
Right.
But hey, best of luck to him at the Flyers.
Is that where he went?
Yeah, he's now part of their front office.
Oh, is he?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's where he came from.
That's right. He won he won a Calder Cup with their AHL affiliate, the Phantoms, back in 2005. They actually beat the Chicago Wolves that year, way back when. And then not soon after that, he was traded to the Blackhawks for basically nothing.
Yep. That was a great steal.
Yes, it was.
All right. So we should probably talk baseball.
Yeah.
Why do the Cubs just like to break my heart?
You know what really? So I don't know if you know, I was at the game on Saturday. I don't know if you saw me post about that.
Yeah, I saw you post on it.
They beat Boston 10-4. Cody Bellinger hits a grand slam. 40,000+ people there. Bellinger hits this grand slam. This place is rocking. Feels like a postseason game. You know, a loyal fan base that just thirsts for this team now to be relevant every year. A really nice moment, but here we are Sunday night facing a 2-out-of-3 series loss, bring a miracle are pretty much over. And you don't really have any more time because the ground you have to make up and the rapidly approaching trade deadline.
2 weeks.
It's even if you go on a bit of a run against the next few games, which, you know, you have some weaker opponents coming up, but even if you get somewhat closer, I don't, you can win a lot of games, but not make up much ground. That's the thing. Because you can only control what you do. You can't control what the Brewers or Reds do. And it feels like any hopes of having that chance are kind of dashed at this point.
Yeah, they have single-digit odds of winning or making the playoffs. And that seems still to be a little high. But the thing is, this team should be on the ascent, not the descent. So just because we don't think they're going to make the playoffs, and in 2 weeks, we should have a very good picture of where they are, if we don't already. But just because we're probably not making the playoffs doesn't mean they have to be sellers.
No, you can soft sell. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. Like, listen, if someone wants to give Mark Leiter Jr., fine. That's fine. I don't mind that. Here's where the crossroads come in, though. There are two key guys.
Stroman and Bellinger.
Uh-huh.
I
don't see an extension.
I don't think they're going to pony up for either one of them. But I don't see the point of giving up on Bellinger. He's been good, and they've both been good. But Bellinger is, you could have him like, he can be a DH, he can be a first baseman, he can be a center fielder. He's not clogging the way for your best prospect in PCA. You know, if PCA, when he's ready to come up, if you've signed Bellinger to extension, it doesn't stop you.
No, it doesn't.
Is one of those guys could play a corner outfield spot, you know, a little bit of waste, but they could easily do that. Or Bellinger goes to first, and you finally get some production of first. You could
That's what I do.
He's been a good clubhouse guy. He's been a good hitter. It seems, and if you trade him, you're going to get pennies on the dollar.
Right, that's the whole thing. That's, even with the value on the field, you're not going to have teams giving away top prospects for that kind of a player. Unless there's a catastrophic injury on, you know, let's say, God forbid, something happens to Acuna in Atlanta, or something happens in Los Angeles, or the Padres are just desperate. I don't see anyone ponying up anything huge. I could see teams being a bit more willing to give you more on Stroman, but that's because starting pitching often comes at a premium. With Cody Bellinger, I don't want to see him go right now. I really, really don't. With Marcus Stroman, I tweeted this earlier. I'm not counting on this because it's so rare, but wouldn't it be great if we could just Jason Hamill him? Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, I saw you posted that where they trade him away and bring him back. That's just so rare.
It's very
I mean,
rare.
the Yankees did it with
Chapman.
It just doesn't happen very often. And you know, would Stroman do it? I think the first piece of that happening is the team relaying that's something they would like to do. And you
Right.
go, hey, listen, we're not going to make the playoffs. We'd like to send you to a team where you can go and win in the postseason. We want to bring you back. We don't want to trade you at all. It's just we're gonna get a haul and then just give you the money. Are you interested in that? Like that should be the starting conversation. If you don't have that conversation, it's real tough. It's real tough to expect that, that could happen.
In my perfect world, you sit down, you talk to him, and you pretty much lay the groundwork of what you want to do to re-sign him next year.
Right.
And you say, hey, this is what we'll give you. This is what we plan. We're basically going to rent you for these last 2 months of the season, and then you'll be back in a Cubs uniform.
Yeah. And if he's amenable to that, then, and you give him your assurance that, hey, this is what we want to do. And as soon as free agency starts, this is the offer we're going to give you. Like, okay.
Because again, this is all perfect world dream stuff, because it's just, you think about it, how cool would it be is next year you have Marcus Stroman and you also got a nice return on some upside legitimate prospects to add to your organization.
Right.
It'd be pretty sweet.
I think so. I just don't know how realistic that is.
I don't think it is either. Again, this is all just dream world, perfect world, I should say, stuff. Because it's not impossible. It's just very unlikely.
I think Stroman is going to get traded.
I think so. I think he's going to get traded too. I think with Bellinger, maybe this is more of how I'm thinking, but I'm hoping they're thinking this way. They're selling on Bellinger if they get an offer they can't refuse.
And that makes sense. Like if somebody offers you, a top 30 prospect or something, like, okay, yeah, obviously, but not one of like team top 30, but like an overall MLB top 30 prospect.
Right.
You go, yeah, we'll take that. But if they don't blow you away, they're like, oh, hey, here's, a single A hitter that's 27. Like, no. Like,
right, like a Greg Diekman or Zach McKinstry type. Like, you don't really,
yeah.
Or like some random guy in single A, like you said. I don't want to settle for that again.
Yeah, I would rather just keep Bellinger.
Yeah. I mean, listen, when you traded Jock Peterson for Greg Diekman, that was pretty much the value you were going to get for that production.
Yeah,
Bellinger has been far and away more productive than Jock Peterson was.
Yeah, but I didn't care about that one because not that I dislike Jock Peterson, but I didn't care about keeping Jock Peterson.
No.
Right? Oh, well, this is a guy that we're going to dump. Fine. But I don't want them to get rid of Bellinger. I like Bellinger.
Me too. Like,
So,
yeah. But I mean, it's pretty clear you're not going to be buyers. You shouldn't be buyers at this point.
I would agree. Unless you can buy a guy that has years of control.
Yeah, if you made
and you knowing you're ascending and you're planning to compete next year, and you bring a guy in that's got a couple of years of control, and you're like, okay, we'll roll the dice on that. But do not buy to try to win this year. That's stupid.
if you made, let me put a somewhat equivalency to this, and I'm not talking about necessarily, take this as you will. If you almost made like a Chase Claypool type trade,
Right.
if you get what I'm saying,
where you bring a guy in for the rest of the season, but then you've got another season under the belt.
right?
Expectation is he's going to help you next year. Who cares this year?
And here's the thing about this year is I have no interest in tanking.
No.
I don't, even if this team wins meaningless games, if you're winning, quote, meaningless games with pieces of the future, I'm cool with that. Now, if you're winning meaningless games and you're just getting some random hot streaks from like Tucker Barnhart and Trey Mancini, and you're not playing some of those younger guys, then that really doesn't do much for me. If you're winning games and the values from the young, like 2014, in the second half of 2014, when Rizzo was finding his all-star stride, and you brought up Jorge Soler and you brought up Javier Baez and Jake Arrieta was coming to form, those games might not have meant anything in a postseason race, but they sure as hell meant something to the future of your team. That's what I'd like to see in the second half. I don't want to go out there and be like, well, we got to play Miles Mastrobuoni, we got to play Trey Mancini, we got to play Tucker Barnhart. No, you should be playing Miguel Amaya every day. You should be bringing up Matt Mervis and playing shit or get off the pot time with him, because there's nothing more for him to prove in AAA. You got to see what he has in the major leagues now.
Yep. Agreed.
That's where I'm at.
And I don't like that Justin Steele didn't pitch well today.
No, but I still can't believe he did not pitch well, but I can't believe that was ruled a hit. That Nico misplay.
Yeah.
That would have been 4 unearned runs. Just saying. But no, he did not pitch well, which is too bad.
And then on the other side of town, you got the White Sox. And they've done well against the Braves.
They won a series against the Braves, which I did not expect.
Especially after the game 1.
Yeah, after game 1, I'm like, oh God, this is going to be a sweep. And then they beat Spencer Strider. And then today they dominated. Now, not to take anything from the White Sox, I think today the Braves are kind of like, they're so far ahead. They're just kind of like, bleh. They just kind of threw some dude out there. But still, you won a series against the Braves in Atlanta. Beating Spencer Strider, hey, you gotta give him a pat on the back for that. I don't think it changes anything, obviously, but
no, it doesn't.
Good for them.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to get that win. But at this point, you're so far back, you've got to start sweeping some series. And baby steps here. You win a series against the Braves, but Luis Robert is a dude. What's wild to me is, how is Luis Robert so good and playing this well on a team in the 3rd largest market and didn't get the all-star vote numbers? How does that happen?
I think it's the state of the team. If they were contenders, if they were, 15 above, not 15 below, I think it'd be a different story.
I mean, Luis Robert here is got a 908 OPS with 27 home runs. And it's not even the trade deadline yet.
He's having an incredible year. This is the guy we expected. Yeah. If there's one big positive to take away so far this year, it's been him.
But you still have Tim Anderson batting second with his 530 OPS.
Yeah, that has just been ugly. But I mean,
Tim Anderson still doesn't have an OPS higher than Sebi Zavala
that's nuts.
or Elvis Andrus.
Wow.
Elvis Andrus has a higher OPS.
I mean, maybe he can bum slay and kind of get his head back into it if he's still around. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean the White Sox, they've I mean they've got a shot. They've got to start. I'm sorry, they don't have a shot to win this division, I don't think, but they've got a shot to start inching closer. The next series is against the Mets, and the Mets are a mess. And but you know what's going to happen. Who's pitching for the Mets on Wednesday?
Is it Quintana?
It is Quintana.
Oh, how about that?
He's going to have a revenge game.
Hashtag revenge season.
Yeah, but the Mets stink, but you're facing Verlander in the closer.
Yeah,
Kopech
well,
versus Verlander.
I mean, if they have any sort of prayer, like they have to play pretty much perfect baseball over the next 2 weeks, right?
I think so.
I mean, are we even talking about that scenario at this point? I mean, I get it. Division sucks and your schedule does light up. And it makes me wonder what the front office is thinking.
I would love to hear what the conversations are behind closed doors.
As would I.
What they say in public doesn't matter to me at all.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
But I really want to hear. Sure. They've won a couple games in a row here, but they're still 8.5 games out of first place.
And even if you win 5 in a row and make it 7 in a row, you're still 10 games below 500, which doesn't seem like as big of a deal, admittedly, because you play in the worst division ever. I mean, they're 15 games below 500 and they're only 8.5 back. Like, that's unbelievable. They've had this opportunity the whole time.
They're over 20 games out of first place if they're in the AL East.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to put that into perspective, that's what the Royals are out of first place in the Central.
Yeah. And the Royals are like on par with the A's bad.
The A's are over 30 games out of first place.
And if I'm not mistaken, the White Sox get a lot of those easy games over the next few months.
Yeah, the problem is that number one, you've got to take advantage of those.
Right.
The White Sox didn't take advantage of Oakland.
Nope.
They got swept.
No, they lost 2 or 3.
Oh, did they? Oh, sorry, they came back at the one. But you don't win that series. You should have swept that series. That's what you needed to do. Period.
Yeah.
And then at some point, it's going to be too little, too late, because even if you have a couple of easy series in a row, and you're 8 to 10 games out of first place, if it's it's end of August, what are you going to do? You can't overcome that late.
Well, I mean, the reality is you got to make a decision over the next few weeks.
You've got 2 weeks. Yeah. This team has to be sellers, right? They have to be
right now. Yeah.
I mean, you've got 2 weeks though. Do you think you're going to find some magic cure for the last couple of years, over 2 weeks?
I mean, the only things I can say, the only things I could come up with is, one, baseball's fluky and weird. There are times when teams get breaks no matter how good or bad they are, and they win some games. And 2, your division sucks. Those are the only things I could come up with.
I want to put it this way. Okay, let's say they become buyers.
I don't think they'd ever become buyers. I just don't know if they'd be willing to sell off or not. And I'm not saying that's how I'm thinking of it. I'm just trying to think like the White Sox.
I'm going to go through the three scenarios because the three scenarios are buyers, sellers, or stand pat.
Okay.
Is buyers, what do you have to give up?
Colston Montgomery and that pitching prospect you have, and Oscar Colas.
Okay, and you're not getting rid of those guys.
No.
That's all you have. And, when you have an embarrassment of riches in the minor league system, you're willing to give up a prospect that's good because you're like, okay, well, we've got a bunch of good prospects. White Sox don't have that. They really have just a couple of guys that they're excited about. So they're going to cling on to them for dear life. So I don't see what they would be willing to give up in a trade that another team would want. Standing pat, sure, you could do that. And I
Because
think
you know what they're going to say. Getting Yoel Moncada back is going to be their trade deadline acquisition.
yeah, and that's a possibility that they stand pat. But this is why I think they are sellers. Is if you're able to dump a Lucas Giolito salary or somebody, like a heavy salary, Jerry's going to take that. Jerry's going to look at that as a win for him because he's giving up a bad contract, but an expensive contract where he gets some financial relief. It's
True.
a lot cheaper to pay some AA pitcher than it is Lucas Giolito.
Yeah.
And I know that, there's a chance that they do keep Lucas Giolito, but it seems to me that there's been enough. What's the old saying? Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's been enough smoke of Lucas Giolito is going to be traded.
Yeah, you certainly hear a lot about that.
And would they trade him if he had another year of team control? I don't think so.
Probably not.
But the fact that he's going to be a free agent, they don't want to pay that. So they might as well get something for him, especially in a year where their odds at this point of winning or making the playoffs are pretty slim, even in a bad division. Those odds.
Oh yeah, I mean the math
slim.
speaks. The math and the odds speak for themselves. Like I said, how those Jerry Reinsdorf teams think.
Yeah, I don't see a world where they are buyers at all. I really do think they'll be sellers. And Tim Anderson is safe because nobody was going to want him. Nobody's going to want Lance Lynn. Lucas Giolito, I could see teams wanting him because he's had some really good outings this year.
He's been good this year. I mean, he right now is probably the most valuable trade chip in terms of the guys you're going to sell, because I believe there was a tweet that somebody reported, I don't know if it was Heyman, but he said the quote untouchables would be Robert, Cease, Eloy, and Vaughn, I think it was. So if you're indeed not trading those four guys, then yeah, your most valuable trade asset right now is Lucas Giolito.
I mean, that's fair. And I think you would actually get something for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I saw that tweet you were talking about. I can't remember who tweeted it, but I saw that tweet you were talking about.
I thought it was Heyman, but maybe I'm wrong. I know I saw that tweet from some reporter.
So I mean, I don't know they could be willing to trade a lot of guys, but the reality is anybody going to want most of those guys?
I think people would want Giolito, obviously.
Yes,
Um,
desirable.
I think Yasmani Grandal, if someone just needs like a left-handed bat, whether you DH, pinch hit, whatever, someone could take that. Maybe some of your relievers that you might,
Maybe.
maybe Kendall Graveman. He's been kind of meh this year, but I mean, maybe someone would take him. Yeah, I mean, that's what I could think of off the top of my head right now. And maybe someone takes Lance Lynn and just takes him for you, and you're just like, we got no use for this. You can have him if you just want to use him.
Just take him, please. You got him sitting in a basket on the side of the road. It just says free.
Yeah.
It says free to a good home, and then they crossed off good with a marker with a big X. I think they would love to trade Liam Hendricks. I think it's a bad look if they do.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere.
That's, he's the feel good story. If you trade him, you really look like a turd sandwich.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere.
It might just be Giolito, and it makes. I mean, if you really are trying to win, it doesn't make sense to trade him because you would try to re-sign him. But knowing the cheapness of this organization and the fact that I don't think they really are trying to win, I think that window is closing rapidly. If you're going to lose him, you might as well get something for him.
Right. I just, like you said, I want to know what their conversations are behind closed doors.
Yeah, I mean, and what are the conversations like between Kenny and the GM? And then what are the conversations like when you bring in the Reinsdorfs? How do those change?
Yeah, I don't know. Because, I mean, wouldn't it be just... Could you not see the White Sox going on a nice win streak here and kind of getting back into it and then halting their sell plans and be like, well, I don't know. Like, couldn't you just see that? Because I could.
I mean, that's a possibility. But like we've mentioned a bunch of times before, is the tough part about not only are they 8.5 games out, they've got to leapfrog 3 teams.
Yeah.
And
again, I'm not saying that's how I think.
Yeah. And all 4 of those teams are either their Twins are 6-4 in their last 10. The Cleveland's 4-6, Detroit's 5-5, and the White Sox are 4-6. You're not gaining any ground there. They're all just middling teams. They're all going to be between 4-6 and 6-4 for their last 10 for the rest of the season. Maybe
the AL Central is just a puking stilt.
Yeah, it is just 3 teams or 4 teams running in place in a race. So it's a hot mess. The AL East, you've got Baltimore within a game of first place. They're on an ass kicking streak.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would make me so happy if the end result of the season is Baltimore's in first place and the Yankees are in last place.
It'd be cool to see Baltimore win that division.
Oh yeah. Like I said, growing up, Cal Ripken was my favorite player, so I always have a soft spot for the Orioles.
Mm-hmm.
So especially in that division where Boston could go kick rocks. Yankees are the ultimate team that can go kick rocks in baseball. I don't have any ill feeling towards Tampa or Toronto, but I like Baltimore, so I'm going to root for them. They've had a rough go of it the last couple of decades.
Yes, they have. Yes, they have.
But yeah, the White Sox, they're going to have to go on a streak here. They're going to have to if they want to plan to inch up, and because they're so far out of it right now. It's unreal. 8.5 games is a lot of games, especially considering that they're 15 games under 500.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Nope. I think I've said my piece.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether that's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, etc. Share this podcast with your friends. That's how we grow the show. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, or ShyFanPat2 for Alex on Twitter, or AlexanderJPatCreative.com for all the cool stuff that Alex does. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like number New Yorkers. Smoking crack is not legal on planes. Bears 31 to -7. The Bears. Oh, when the Bears go bearing down.